A British millionaire and his Thai wife were found buried next to a duck pen on their family farm, shocking the community. Strangely, their assets remained intact, with the only missing item being a newly purchased pickup truck. Upon reviewing CCTV footage, police discovered two strangers breaking into the farm, one of whom drove the pickup truck away before disappearing. The case hit a dead end until a neighbor provided a shocking statement. When the culprit was revealed, locals were stunned, as the suspect was known as a kind-hearted person who regularly visited temples. So, who murdered the British millionaire couple, and what grudge did they have against them? Let's uncover this horrific crime. Before diving into the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive notifications whenever a new video is posted. This true crime took place in Phrae Province, northern Thailand. On September 19, millionaire couple, Alan Hogg and Nod Sudan, had scheduled a meeting with friends in Chiang Mai. However, when the couple failed to show up at the meeting and could not be reached by phone, suspicion arose among their friends. A British national, Alan Hogg was known for always being punctual at social gatherings. If he couldn't attend, he would certainly notify his friends several days in advance so they could adjust their plans. After waiting for several days, with no sign of Alan and his wife, and with phone calls ringing but unanswered, the group of friends became increasingly concerned. Suspecting something had happened to the couple, one friend volunteered to visit their villa in Phrae Province to check on them. Arriving at Alan's large farm in Phrae, on September 23, the friend searched the house but found no trace of the couple. Inside, Alan's phone was still charging, and clothes and luggage remained untouched, indicating the couple hadn't left the house. The friend also noticed the pickup truck was missing from the garage. After a thorough inspection, the friend found bloodstains scattered in the dressing room that hadn't been cleaned. Fearing the worst, the friend immediately called the police to report the situation. Police in Phrae Province promptly arrived at the scene, collected testimonies, and launched an investigation. Alan Hogg and his wife lived in a 3-story villa situated on a sprawling 32-acre estate. Besides growing fruit trees, the couple also raised ducks and fish, which made the police search more challenging. Due to the vastness of the property, additional officers were dispatched to the scene to assist in the investigation. One officer discovered a recently dug and refilled patch of soil in the orchard, near a duck pond. This detail was highly unusual, as no other part of the garden showed signs of being disturbed. The police then deployed sniffer dogs to investigate. Upon arriving at the suspicious area, the dogs began barking incessantly. Suspecting that the bodies of the millionaire couple might be buried beneath, the investigation team hired an excavator to dig. After nearly 2 hours of digging on the Hogg property, police finally unearthed the couple's bodies buried 2 meters deep near the duck pond. The crime scene immediately descended into chaos, with many family members and friends of the couple left in shock by the news. The victims' bodies were later transported to a forensic clinic to determine the cause and time of death. Meanwhile, another police team carried out investigations, collecting evidence and statements from those acquainted with the victims. Robin Hogg, the couple's daughter, flew from the UK to Thailand after learning of her parents' murder to assist with the investigation. Alan Hogg was originally from Edinburgh, Scotland. While vacationing in Thailand, he fell head over heels in love with a local woman named Nod Sudan. Alan was a well-known engineer and businessman. However, he resigned as director of the specialized dry cleaning company Clayful, based in Bonnyrigg, near Edinburgh, in July 2017. He had controlled 50.75% of the company's shares and was listed as the sole individual with significant control of the business until it was sold to Johnson Service Group that same month. Additionally, he managed another company called Sherwood Edinburgh, which was also sold to another party. Alan and his wife, Nod Sudan, frequently traveled back and forth between the UK and Thailand. The couple also owned another house in Australia, where they often vacationed during the summer. To residents of Phrae Province, Alan was regarded as a wealthy millionaire who preferred the simple, peaceful life of the countryside. Since 2014, the couple had officially settled in Thailand and built a 3-story home on their expansive property, complete with a swimming pool and a poultry farm. The brutal murder of Alan Hogg and Nod Sudan, whose bodies were buried in their garden, shocked the small rural community in northern Thailand. Since the case involved a foreign national, Thai police faced significant pressure to identify the perpetrator. Forensic results revealed that Alan died from 2 gunshot wounds, while Nod Sudan was killed with a wrench. The couple's time of death was determined to be around September 18, one day before their scheduled meeting in Chiang Mai. The fact that the killer buried the victims on their own property made police suspect the perpetrator was someone they knew. Unable to move the bodies elsewhere, the murderer likely decided to bury them right next to the house. Nod Sudan's relatives described Alan as a kind and generous man who often lent them money during hard times. Meanwhile, Nod was known as a kind-hearted and gentle woman who took responsibility for caring for her disabled younger brother. Despite being married to a wealthy millionaire, Nod never came across as arrogant or conceited. Local residents confirmed that Alan and his wife had no conflicts or disputes with anyone in the area. Upon reviewing cameras inside and outside the property, police immediately uncovered a crucial lead. The person seen driving Alan's newly purchased white Ford Ranger pickup truck away was s.e.x.u.a.l, 63, Nod's older brother. Police promptly launched a manhunt for s.e.x.u.a.l to question him, but he had disappeared from Phrae province. When locals learned that s.e.x.u.a.l was the suspect police were pursuing, many expressed doubt, as he was known as a kind man. He was often seen helping neighbors and volunteering at a temple. Furthermore, the idea that s.e.x.u.a.l could murder his wealthy sister and brother-in-law seemed implausible, as he had worked with the couple for over 20 years. Despite public skepticism, police pressed forward with their search for s.e.x.u.a.l, as he had vanished along with the victim's vehicle. However, some of Nod's relatives supported the police's suspicions, claiming that the relationship between s.e.x.u.a.l and the couple was not as harmonious as it appeared. Alan Hogg was a dynamic individual who, alongside his wife, had run a restaurant and a laundry business before returning to farming. Since the couple started their poultry farm raising ducks and geese in Phrae, the relationship between them and s.e.x.u.a.l had gradually deteriorated. As a European, Alan Hogg had high expectations when it came to work. He often appeared critical and dissatisfied with his brother-in-law's work habits. Meanwhile, s.e.x.u.a.l, being older, worked at a slower pace and lacked the efficiency of others. Additionally, s.e.x.u.a.l felt envious of his sister living in a fully equipped 3-story house while he remained in an old wooden home. On September 15, Nod visited her youngest brother and complained about their older brother neglecting his work and becoming increasingly difficult to deal with. Moreover, whenever the couple tried to give him feedback, s.e.x.u.a.l would argue back, insisting he was right. Frustrated with his unwillingness to change, Nod and Alan demanded that s.e.x.u.a.l leave their farm. Based on information from the youngest brother, the police became even more convinced that s.e.x.u.a.l was the prime suspect. However, given his age, it was unlikely that s.e.x.u.a.l could have single-handedly murdered the couple and buried their bodies so efficiently. Police suspected that he had accomplices who assisted him in this horrific crime. Furthermore, evidence from the crime scene revealed bloodstains left on the sink and the floor. In the garage, they also discovered a wrench that had been unusually cleaned of oil and dirt, leaving it suspiciously polished. Believing the wrench to be the murder weapon used to kill Nod, police sent it for forensic analysis, which confirmed their suspicions. Additionally, CCTV footage showed that on September 18, a strange man arrived at the farm, and it was s.e.x.u.a.l who greeted him. However, after the two men left, the CCTV cameras did not capture any further images of Alan and Nod. From this detail, police suspected the two strange men were accomplices who helped s.e.x.u.a.l murder and dispose of Alan and Nod. To capture s.e.x.u.a.l, police were determined to track down the stolen pickup truck he had taken from the victim's home. After days of searching, investigators discovered that the truck had been sold to a local resident living in the nearby hills for 200,000 baht. However, that person had resold the truck to a man from Laos for 430,000 baht. The man from Laos later drove the truck to Ayutthaya during a business trip. Upon learning about the murder case and the vehicle police were searching for, the man voluntarily handed the truck over to authorities. After recovering the vehicle, police also arrested s.e.x.u.a.l. However, to their surprise, he denied killing his sister and brother-in-law. s.e.x.u.a.l insisted that he had no involvement in the deaths of his sister and her husband. Without concrete evidence, and with CCTV only capturing s.e.x.u.a.l driving away, police were unable to detain him. After s.e.x.u.a.l was granted bail, police were forced to release him. The case hit a dead end, leaving police extremely concerned about their inability to apprehend the killer. Since the truck had been bought and sold multiple times, it was difficult for police to identify fingerprints on it. Amid the stalemate, a police officer suggested monitoring s.e.x.u.a.l's movements, as he remained the prime suspect. While one team followed s.e.x.u.a.l, another continued to search the crime scene for additional clues. At this point, a neighbor named s.e.u.a.l, 50, unexpectedly appeared at the police station. No one could have predicted that this testimony would lead to the easiest capture of the culprit. s.e.u.a.l hesitantly admitted that, prior to the murders, s.e.x.u.a.l had approached him for help in killing Alan Hogg. However, upon learning that s.e.x.u.a.l also intended to kill his own sister, s.e.u.a.l immediately refused. Still, s.e.u.a.l accepted 25,000 baht from s.e.x.u.a.l and introduced him to two strong men to carry out the heinous act. The two men s.e.u.a.l introduced were Pia Kamsai, 63, and Kittafong Kamwan, 24. After hearing s.e.u.a.l's testimony, police immediately arrested him for aiding the crime and sent officers to apprehend the three suspects. s.e.u.a.l agreed to testify as a witness in exchange for a lighter sentence. With a cooperating witness, police quickly raided the suspects' homes and successfully arrested all three perpetrators. s.e.x.u.a.l eventually confessed to all charges, admitting that he was the mastermind behind the murders of his sister and brother-in-law. He revealed that he had hired Pia Kamsai and Kittafong Kamwan for 50,000 baht to murder Alan Hogg and his wife, Nad Sodane. Police Chief Sonpat Prapudsa, the officer leading the investigation, ordered the three perpetrators to reenact the crime at the scene. Pia Kamsai confirmed that at around 6 p.m. on September 18, 2018, he and Kittafong were led into the farm by s.e.x.u.a.l. Pia was instructed to go to the back garden, where he found Alan feeding the ducks, and shot him twice, killing him. Meanwhile, Kittafong found Nad in the kitchen, covered her mouth, dragged her to the garage, and pinned her to the ground. s.e.x.u.a.l then used a wrench to strike his sister on the head repeatedly until she died. The three murderers then dragged Nad's body to the duck pen, near where Alan had been killed. They used a pickaxe, shovels, and Alan's small excavator to dig a 2-meter deep hole and push the couple's bodies into it. After finishing the job, s.e.x.u.a.l took the family's Ford Ranger truck and sold it. Based on the trio's testimony, police recovered the gun used to shoot Alan, which they had thrown into a creek between Wangchin District and Long District. s.e.x.u.a.l confessed that he and his brother-in-law, Alan Hogg, had disagreements over how the farm was managed. s.e.x.u.a.l had been well loved by his sister, Nad, who allowed him to build a small wooden house on the couple's expansive property. Trusting her brother, Nad appointed s.e.x.u.a.l as the farm's head gardener. His duties included tending to the plants, maintaining the orchard, and caring for the chickens and 15 cows. However, during his time working on the farm, Alan and s.e.x.u.a.l frequently clashed. When s.e.x.u.a.l learned that the couple intended to evict him from the farm, he became furious. He felt he had been exploited by his brother-in-law, working for over a decade without receiving any proper compensation. When s.e.x.u.a.l demanded payment for managing the farm, Alan flatly refused. Feeling unjustly treated and angered further, by Nod siding with her husband. s.e.x.u.a.l's resentment grew. This only heightened his rage, as he knew that if he were evicted, his advanced age would make it nearly impossible to find another job. Additionally, s.e.x.u.a.l had nowhere to go, as he owned no house and had no children to support him. With the intention of murdering his sister and brother-in-law, s.e.x.u.a.l sought hitmen to assist him. Lacking the money to pay the hitmen, he came up with the idea of selling the newly purchased truck belonging to Alan and Nod. Due to legal restrictions on land and business ownership for foreigners, expatriates living in Thailand often register assets under the names of Thai relatives or associates. This is why Alan frequently purchased properties under the names of his wife's family members. Being wealthy, Alan and his wife acquired numerous properties, including land and houses, which were registered under Nod's siblings, including s.e.x.u.a.l. Even after Alan and Nod were murdered, some of their assets remained under the suspect's name. In fact, the couple's only daughter had even considered asking her uncle to help manage the farm if she relocated her parents to live in the UK. Unfortunately, s.e.x.u.a.l destroyed his own future and life in a moment of rage. After being arrested, s.e.x.u.a.l showed no remorse or regret for his actions. The fact that s.e.x.u.a.l hired hitmen to kill his own sister and brother-in-law shocked the residents of Phrae Province. Nod's uncle, s.e.x.u.a.l, 78, confirmed that he saw her at his store on the morning of September 18, and she seemed cheerful. He also stated that he had never heard Nod speak ill of her brother. If there had been any conflict, she would have likely kept it hidden from him and other relatives. Speaking about Warut s.e.x.u.a.l, s.e.x.u.a.l also confirmed that his nephew was a kind and decent man. He was shocked to learn that s.e.x.u.a.l had hired people to kill his sister and brother-in-law over a minor family dispute. Prasith Sudan, 61, another uncle of Nod who lived just a few kilometers away, described Warut as a kind-hearted person. None of the relatives or local residents could have imagined that he was the perpetrator. A year after the murders, on June 3, 2019, the Phrae Provincial Court officially began the trial for the murders of Alan and Nod Hogg. Warut Ratanashagakit was identified as the mastermind, who hired hitmen to murder his sister and brother-in-law due to family conflicts. Police charged Warut with conspiring to commit murder to seize Hogg's assets and sell some of them. All three perpetrators, Warut Ratanashagakit, Pia Kamsai, and Kitafong Kamwan, were sentenced to death on multiple charges. Suma Wutpamun received a 25-year prison sentence, reduced by half from the initial 50 years due to his cooperation with the police during the investigation. The Phrae Provincial Court described the murder of the British millionaire as an act that severely damaged Thailand's reputation. Pawina Chwayan, the victim's family lawyer, stated that Alan's relatives in the UK were satisfied with the court's verdict. However, due to the cruelty and horrific nature of the case, they did not want to revisit this painful story. The case of the British millionaire couple murdered by their brother-in-law over family conflicts has now come to a close. Behind the glamorous curtain of the Norwegian royal family, a storm of public opinion is raging around Marius Borg Høiby, the stepson of the Crown Princess, who was arrested on November 18th for allegations of sexual assault against women. The most shocking revelation is that Marius Borg Høiby's background has been re-examined, revealing that he has a father with a criminal history. As of November 21st, he is accused of multiple serious offenses involving a total of 6 victims. What truly happened? Is it a personal mistake, or does it conceal a dark truth yet to be uncovered? What does the future hold for Borg Høiby as all eyes turn to the upcoming trial? Will he face consequences for his actions, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? Join us as we delve into every shadowy corner of this scandal, shaking the Norwegian royal family right now. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified whenever a new video is released. On November 18, 2024, Marius Borg Høiby, 27, the stepson of Crown Princess Mette Marie, was officially arrested by Norwegian police after being accused of sexually assaulting a woman. The Oslo District Court ruled that Borg Høiby could be held in custody until November 27th due to the risk of evidence tampering. Additionally, a visitation ban was imposed on Marius Borg Høiby to prevent royal family members from interfering in the case. According to reports from authorities, Marius is suspected of assaulting the victim while she was unconscious or unable to resist. Marius's lawyer, Øyvind Bratlien, defended his client, asserting that Marius is completely innocent. The lawyer also strongly opposed the police's decision to detain Marius for 2 weeks. Furthermore, Marius denied all allegations, claiming he had no involvement in the actions he is accused of. The police have refused to disclose details about the time and location of the incident, as well as keeping the victim's identity confidential. They emphasized only that the victim was likely unable to defend herself at the time of the attack, making the case even more severe. Notably, this is not the first time Marius Borg Høiby has been arrested this year. This marks the third time in just 3 months that Høiby has been detained, making the case a focal point of Norwegian and international media attention. Previously, on August 4th, the stepson of Crown Princess Mette Marie was taken into custody by police after being accused of assaulting his girlfriend, Rebecca Helberg Arntzen. Marius confessed that he had used alcohol and cocaine, which led to losing control and injuring his girlfriend. He also expressed remorse, claiming that his actions were due to an inability to control his emotions. Rebecca officially filed charges against Marius for his violent behavior, prompting the police to issue a restraining order to ensure the victim's safety. However, just a month later, in September, Marius violated the restraining order and was arrested again. Just 1 day after his stepson's arrest, on November 19th, Crown Prince Haakon cautiously addressed the matter on Norwegian television. He stated that these are very serious allegations Marius is currently facing. The Crown Prince expressed his belief that the police and judicial authorities would handle the case fairly and effectively. By November 20th, the police had uncovered new details about the case involving Marius Borg Høiby. When searching Rebecca Helberg's residence, the police discovered a dagger deeply embedded in one of the bedroom walls. Based on this finding, Marius Borg Høiby faced additional charges, including multiple violations of previously imposed restraining orders and driving without a valid license. According to investigators, the incidents involving Høiby have affected a total of 4 women and 1 man, raising significant public concern. Shortly afterward, information about the victims in Marius Borg Høiby's case was officially disclosed to the media. Among the allegations, Høiby is accused of violating Section 291 bites of the Criminal Code regarding sexual assault, with one of the victims being a 20-year-old woman. Detailed accusations describe that he committed the heinous act while the victim was unconscious or unable to defend herself. The second victim, Rebecca Helberg Arntzen, is Høiby's girlfriend. In August 26, he was accused of causing harm and assaulting Rebecca in an apartment in Frogner. The allegations related to this incident were later expanded to include charges of intimate partner abuse and violating the restraining order. The third victim, Julianne Snekkestad, is Høiby's ex-girlfriend. He had previously been accused of abusing Julianne during their approximately 4-year-long relationship. Another victim, Nora Haukeland, also an ex-girlfriend of Høiby, spoke out about his controlling and confrontational behavior during their nearly year-long relationship. The police confirmed that these actions were systematic and sophisticated, leaving Nora in a state of severe psychological distress. Additionally, Høiby was accused of threatening a man via social media. According to sources from VG, Høiby sent an offensive message on Instagram, calling the victim a damn man. Not stopping there, Høiby was previously investigated for a scooter theft, further escalating the severity of his criminal behavior. As parents, Crown Prince Haakon and Crown Princess Mette Marie have expressed deep concern. They hope that Marius will receive the necessary help to overcome his personal issues. The royal couple has worked for a long time to ensure that Marius has access to rehabilitation, treatment, and psychological support services. The Crown Prince and Crown Princess emphasized that this is the family's top priority during this challenging period. The news of Borg Høiby's arrest has increased pressure on the Norwegian royal family, especially on Crown Princess Mette-Marit, as the family's name becomes a hot topic in the media. Marius's case has not only sparked a wave of criticism, but has also significantly impacted the image of the Norwegian royal family. The fairy tale romance between Crown Princess Mette-Marit and Crown Prince Haakon, once admired by the public, is now overshadowed by the successive scandals involving Marius. Royal experts believe that these troubles will continue to weigh heavily on the reputation of the royal family in the future. Marius Borg Høiby is the stepson of Crown Princess Mette-Marit, born before her marriage to Crown Prince Haakon of Norway. Despite being the son of the Crown Princess, Marius was not granted any royal title and is not included in the Norwegian royal line of succession. His role in the royal family is largely private and unrelated to any official duties or representation of the monarchy. Marius is the half-brother of Princess Ingrid Alexandra, who is currently second in line to the Norwegian throne, right after Crown Prince Haakon. Princess Ingrid Alexandra is regarded as a future symbol of the Norwegian royal family. Additionally, Prince Sverre Magnus, the younger brother of Princess Ingrid Alexandra, is third in the line of succession. The stark difference in status between Marius and his two royal half-siblings reflects the strict rules of the Norwegian monarchy, where succession rights are reserved for direct descendants of the royal lineage. Few people know that Crown Princess Mette-Marit had a turbulent and controversial past before marrying Crown Prince Haakon. When Crown Prince Haakon officially announced that Mette-Marit Høiby would become the future queen, the news shocked the entire nation of Norway. Why would a crown prince, expected to marry a noblewoman of high pedigree, choose a single mother as his life partner? Notably, Mette-Marit was not only a commoner, but also had a past deemed incompatible with royal standards. According to documents and articles from People magazine, Mette-Marit was born in Kristiansand, in southern Norway. Her childhood was turbulent, as she witnessed her parents' marriage fall apart. After the divorce, Mette-Marit's father remarried a young exotic dancer, leaving her feeling lost and rebellious. During her youth, she admitted to living a carefree lifestyle and participating in many out-of-control parties. Mette-Marit once worked as a waitress in Oslo and was known for her hedonistic party lifestyle. What made her story even more controversial was the fact that she was a single mother raising a young son. Marius Borg Høiby is the son of Mette-Marit and a man with a criminal record involving violence, drunk driving, and drug possession. The complex private life of the single mother was seen as unfit for the image of a fairy tale princess that the Norwegian public expected. Mette-Marit's relationship with Crown Prince Haakon began in the late 1990s. However, it wasn't until 1999, when they met again at a party during a festival, that their romantic feelings officially blossomed. At that time, Mette-Marit was a single mother raising her son Marius, who was over 2 years old. Despite their vastly different backgrounds and family circumstances, their love quickly grew. The couple decided to move in together in an apartment in Oslo, where they jointly cared for Mette-Marit's son. This marked the first time in European royal history that a crown prince cohabited with a girlfriend before marriage. Crown Prince Haakon's bold decision drew heavy criticism from both the Church of Norway and conservative circles. The image of a single mother, who had attended all-night parties and raised a son from a previous relationship, starkly contrasted with the idealized image of a future queen. Rumors about Mette-Marit's colorful past once flooded the front pages of Norwegian newspapers. While her past experiences might not have been considered scandalous to outsiders, in the context of the royal family, they became a source of intense controversy. Stories about her rebellious phase and party lifestyle began appearing frequently in the press, turning her into a hot topic for the media. Crown Prince Haakon's decision to commit to Mette-Marit despite her past was not just a love story, but also a testament to the Norwegian royal family's progressive perspective on human values. Nevertheless, many royal commentators in Oslo continued to compare Mette-Marit to other royal figures. Some remarked that she resembled Sarah Ferguson more than Diana, implying that she did not entirely fit the ideal image of a royal family member. Notably, Crown Prince Haakon's decision to propose to Mette-Marit after just 6 months of dating was seen as too hasty. The couple's joy and excitement were quickly overshadowed by relentless media scrutiny. Reporters dug into Mette-Marit's past, spreading misinformation and splashing sensational headlines across the front pages. In an interview, Crown Prince Haakon admitted that he had considered giving up his right to the throne to protect the woman he loved from incessant criticism. Concerns extended beyond gossip about Mette-Marit, as her son, Marius Borg Høiby, also became a controversial topic. Being Mette-Marit's son from a previous relationship and not part of the royal lineage, Marius was expected to face many challenges as he grew up. Furthermore, if Mette-Marit had children with Crown Prince Haakon, those children would hold higher status than Marius, sparking public discourse about potential favoritism and comparisons. Meanwhile, Mette-Marit's ex-boyfriend and Marius's father, Morten Borg, publicly defended her by rejecting all offers from the press to sell private photos, despite enormous pressure from the media. Amid the storm of public criticism, Mette-Marit received strong support from King Harald, Crown Prince Haakon's father. King Harald had himself faced similar pressures when he worked to convince his father, King Olav, to allow him to marry Sonja Haraldsson, a commoner. Just days before their wedding in 2001, Mette-Marit did something unexpected that changed the public's perception of her. In a press conference in August 2001, Mette-Marit tearfully apologized for her past mistakes. Standing before the media, she bravely acknowledged her past and shared heartfelt words from deep within. "My youthful rebellion was far more intense than most people's. I lived a very rebellious life, and it took me a long time to overcome it." This gesture allowed people to feel her sincerity and determination to build a new future alongside Crown Prince Haakon. Their wedding, held on August 25, 2001, was a special event not only because it was Norway's first royal wedding in over 30 years, but also because of its unconventional touches. Instead of waiting for the bride inside the church, Crown Prince Haakon stood outside to greet Mette-Marit so they could walk down the aisle together. Mette-Marit appeared radiant in a simple silk crepe wedding gown, paired with a 6-meter long veil secured by the diamond daisy bandeau tiara. Her son from a previous relationship, Marius Borg Høiby, became part of the new royal family, breaking all previous norms. Over more than 2 decades together, Crown Prince Haakon and Crown Princess Mette-Marit had 2 children together, 1 daughter and 1 son. During their 20th wedding anniversary celebration, Crown Prince Haakon offered special words of praise for his wife. "Mette has a strength you can't overlook when she enters a room. She's someone you can easily talk to and feel at ease with." As for Marius, from being a boy under media scrutiny, he grew into a symbol of charm and attractiveness. However, few could have predicted that Marius would later cause significant trouble for the royal family, despite holding no royal title. Marius Borg Høiby, born in 1997 in Kristiansand, Norway, is the son of a convicted criminal named Morten Borg. Since he is the stepson of Crown Princess Mette-Marit, Marius is not included in the royal line of succession. In June 2017, at the age of 20, he decided to live as a regular citizen. Crown Princess Mette-Marit supported her son's decision, stating that he remains an integral part of the royal family. In a letter, she also criticized the media for scrutinizing her son's youthful misjudgments. What no one anticipated was that, just a few years later, Marius Borg Høiby's name would once again make headlines, this time for involvement in multiple serious cases. On November 20th, he was accused of yet another sexual assault against a different woman. With this, Borg Høiby faced 2 charges of sexual assault, prompting Norwegian media to label it an unprecedented incident in the country's royal history. In total, 6 victims have been identified in Borg Høiby's complex case. At the hearing on November 21st, Marius's defense lawyer argued that the allegations were inaccurate and that the police had acted hastily in their investigation. Borg Høiby himself repeatedly denied the charges and authorized his lawyer to handle the matter. Norwegian police requested that Marius be detained for 2 weeks to continue their investigation. Under Norwegian law, if convicted, he could face a sentence of up to 10 years in prison for the sexual assault charges. Additionally, other charges such as intimate partner abuse, threats, or violating restraining orders carry penalties ranging from fines to imprisonment, depending on the severity. Norwegian media has outlined 2 possible scenarios for Marius Borg-Høiby's future. In the event that he admits to the charges, the legal process will proceed quickly, and he could face prison time, community service, or fines. If the victims seek compensation, Marius will be held financially accountable. Conversely, if he pleads not guilty, a full trial will be held, involving judges, witnesses, and evidence. In this scenario, he could be sentenced to prison, face other penalties, or be acquitted if the evidence is deemed insufficient. One question raised is whether royal family members are entitled to legal privileges. Under Norwegian law, the king has immunity and cannot be prosecuted. If Marius were in the royal line of succession, he might also enjoy certain special rights. However, as the stepson of the crown princess and the son of a convicted criminal, he remains subject to the law like any ordinary citizen. This story goes beyond legal implications, touching on the reputation and public image of the Norwegian royal family, drawing significant public interest. What are your thoughts and feelings about the shocking case involving the crown princess's stepson, Borg-Høiby, after his arrest on serious charges of assaulting 2 women? This incident has sparked heated debates not only in Norway but also around the world. Many are questioning whether this was a spontaneous act of individual misconduct or if there are other underlying factors behind this incident. Based on the current developments, do you think Borg-Høiby is likely to face imprisonment, or will he be exonerated and acquitted in the upcoming trial? Share your opinions, emotions, and thoughts about this event in the comments section below the video. We look forward to hearing from all of you. That concludes the video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Doing so will help us continue bringing you more meaningful content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. A massacre in 1999 left horrifying memories for both the public and the investigative team. The victims were 8 young and beautiful girls living together in a residential complex in Beijing. All 8 girls were very young and beautiful, with the oldest being only 24 years old and the youngest 18, all in the most vibrant years of their youth. The 8 victims were stabbed a total of 120 times, and the scene was thick with a stench of blood, haunting anyone who witnessed it. The strange thing was that the assets and money of the 8 girls were not taken by the murderer. The girls were also not subjected to sexual assault. This information left the police puzzled about the motive. At this point, a series of questions arose. Why did he brutally attack these 8 innocent girls? Could it be that the victims had a grudge against the underworld, leading to their murders? Let's unravel this most intriguing and mysterious case with many exciting details still to come. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive notifications whenever there is a new video. This time, the story takes place in Beijing, China. Around 4 a.m. on May 30th, 1999, the Beijing 110 Alarm Center received 2 emergency calls. The first call was from a trembling female voice, speaking nervously and fearfully as if she were being followed or afraid that the murderer would discover her. "Someone wants to kill us. Please come and save us." The female operator at the switchboard heard the panicked tone and immediately tried to stay calm to reassure her. "Who is trying to kill you? Don't worry, please tell me your address." The girl on the other end of the line spoke intermittently, her voice becoming increasingly urgent. "There, a man, he has a knife. He has already stabbed the other sisters in the house. Please, come immediately." The female operator listened tensely, but because the voice was mixed with a local accent and hard to understand, she couldn't fully comprehend everything. She immediately asked again, her voice more urgent. "What did you say? What is your address?" But in response to the operator's question, there were continuous loud, piercing screams from the other end of the line, then suddenly silence as the call was disconnected. The female operator knew that something bad had happened. She immediately contacted the technical staff to trace the caller's phone number, and the results showed that the call came from s.e.x.u.a.l district, Beijing. Shortly after, the switchboard received a second call. This time, the voice on the other end was a trembling middle-aged female speaking in heavy breaths. "Please come here immediately. A girl just fell right below our house. She's covered in blood, it seems. It seems she's already dead." The female operator immediately understood that this was the crime scene related to the previous call. Without any hesitation, she asked for the specific address. The trembling middle-aged woman replied that it was a residential complex in s.e.x.u.a.l district. When the police arrived, many people had gathered under the building to observe the crime scene. The police immediately dispersed the crowd to protect the crime scene. As they entered the designated area, a strong smell of blood hit their noses from Gate No. 3, Area 1, Building No. 2, Courtyard No. 23. Since it was the end of May, the weather was hot, and the pungent smell of blood spread throughout the house, making the air at the crime scene stifling and more haunting. The murder scene was so horrifying that any police officer who witnessed it was left stunned and aghast. On the beds in the apartment, there were a total of 7 young girls, all of whom had died. The victims lay motionless amidst pools of red blood scattered everywhere. In addition, dried blood stains on the floor and walls formed a horrifying scene never before seen. While the investigators were carefully examining the scene, another urgent report from local residents made the situation even more serious. On the lower floor, in a truck parked near the building, another body of a girl was discovered. After further investigation, the victims were identified as young women, aged between 18 and 24. They were all sales staff of Fujian Jindali Handicrafts Co., Ltd., working at shopping centers in Beijing. Notably, one of them was an employee sent by the headquarters to Beijing to train the other girls. The autopsy investigation quickly concluded that all 8 victims were killed between 4:00 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. It is noteworthy that there were no signs indicating that the victims were sexually assaulted. However, the scene showed signs of looting, raising the hypothesis that this was a premeditated robbery. Strangely, the perpetrator did not appear to be a professional thief, as he bypassed more than 20,000 yuan in cash carefully wrapped in newspapers under the bed. Faced with these brutal actions, the police force was furious and vowed to apprehend the culprit as soon as possible and punish him severely. This case is considered the most serious mass murder in Beijing since the establishment of the People's Republic of China, shaking the entire city. The s.e.x.u.a.l police station immediately notified the Beijing Municipal Public Security Bureau, and a team of top criminal experts was dispatched to the scene for an urgent investigation. During the scene examination, the investigation team was horrified by the perpetrator's brutality. Initially, they suspected that the incident might have been caused by a gang, as the wounds on the victims' bodies indicated that the perpetrator had acted with the intent to kill at all costs. However, what horrified the investigators even more was the subsequent autopsy results. Although the girls had died from the initial fatal stab wounds, the murderer mercilessly returned to stab each victim again to ensure that none of them survived. The crime scene was filled with strange traces, leading the investigators to immediately conclude that this was the first time the murderer had acted. No experienced criminal would leave so many obvious clues at the scene. First of all, the footprints at the scene were all blood-stained, indicating that the murderer was a tall man. However, the strange thing is that he was neither barefoot nor wearing shoes, but only wearing socks. Perhaps this murderer thought that wearing socks would help him avoid detection by not leaving shoe marks, or he knew someone was inside the house and wanted to move silently. This detail shows that he had planned the crime in advance, eliminating the possibility that it was a random theft. Next, his actions at the scene prove that he was not a smart killer. He spent too much time in the house, prolonging the crime process because among the 8 girls, one managed to make a phone call for help. Many surrounding neighbors heard the commotion but thought the girls were arguing and did not pay attention. But the surprising thing is that after committing the crime, he did not take any valuable items from the house. The victims' handbags were ransacked, but all 8 phones were still intact and not taken. This further highlights the killer's lack of planning, leaving investigators puzzled about his motive. Moreover, not only was there the blood of the victims at the scene, but there were also bloodstains that did not match any of the 8 girls. After testing, this blood was identified as belonging to the murderer. This proves that he was clumsy during the crime and injured himself. At this point, a series of questions arose. Why did he ruthlessly attack these 8 innocent girls? If he killed for money, why didn't he take any valuable assets? If not for money, then what was his real motive? Why did he choose a densely populated residential area to commit the crime, a place that is easily noticed by many people? Another noteworthy point is that in Beijing's criminal history, there has never been a case as strange as this. According to neighbors, all 8 girls were people who had little contact with the surrounding residents. They usually went to work early in the morning and only returned home late at night. The girls were described by neighbors as polite, gentle, and never causing any trouble or conflicts with anyone. With these characteristics, if the motive was not theft or revenge, it would usually be related to sexual assault. However, none of the 8 victims showed any signs of being coerced. This makes the case even more perplexing and mysterious. The police began to expand the investigation by interrogating all residents living in the apartment building where the massacre occurred. The first family they visited was that of Li Lin, residing in room 203, right next to the rooms of the 8 unfortunate victims. This family consisted of 3 people: Li Lin, her husband Zhao Lianrong, and a child. According to Li Lin's testimony, on the night of the incident, she worked the night shift and only returned home near dawn. Zhao Lianrong stated that he stayed at home taking care of the child and had put the baby to sleep, so he did not hear anything. However, Zhao Lianrong's behavior in front of the police was somewhat unusual, causing the investigators to become suspicious. While the police were interrogating other residents in the building, most of them reacted naturally. Some neighbors reported that around midnight, they heard loud noises and cries for help from the nearby apartment. Some even thought it was just a quarrel between the couple and did not pay much attention. The suspicious part was that Zhao Lianrong claimed he was sleeping very soundly and did not hear anything. This became unreasonable because the apartment was old with poor soundproofing and was right next to apartment 202, making it entirely implausible that he heard nothing. When questioned, Zhao Lianrong replied that it was due to oversight while working. During the investigation, when the police separated Li Lin and Zhao Lianrong for questioning, Li Lin inadvertently revealed an important detail. She stated that on that morning, when she discovered the body on the first floor, she looked up through her apartment window and saw that the lights were still on. This completely contradicted Zhao Lianrong's testimony, who claimed that he slept soundly all night. Clearly, early that morning, Zhao Lianrong had woken up and did something when the murder occurred. The police quickly established a special investigation team to search for more clues and evidence to clarify Zhao Lianrong's motives and actions. When comparing footprints at the scene, they discovered that Zhao Lianrong's footprints matched the bloodstains remaining on the stairs and outside the yard. Despite the clear evidence, Zhao Lianrong stubbornly refused to admit the crime. The case seemed to reach a dead end until June 6, 1999, when the police unexpectedly discovered a new wound on Zhao Lianrong's leg. When interrogated, he could not provide any reasonable explanation for the origin of the wounds. Zhao Lianrong, born in 1962 in Beijing, is a worker employed at a machine tool manufacturing factory. He lives in an old collective housing complex with his wife and their 5-year-old son. His wife, Li Lin, also works at a factory. The family's life is not affluent, but not excessively difficult or deprived. No one could have guessed that someone with a stern, reticent appearance like him would become a serial killer, murdering 8 young girls. Zhao Lianrong himself has no prior criminal record and has never had conflicts or caused trouble with anyone. He only completed middle school education and works as a factory worker, but no one likes him, from colleagues to acquaintances. Everyone noticed that Zhao Lianrong had a scheming and cunning temperament. However, no one could imagine that he would do something so terrible. He once intended to poison the company director's dog. When the gatekeeper caught on, he sprayed insecticide, killing the pet bird that the elderly gatekeeper had kept. He also threw feces and garbage into the gatekeeper's room, removed the director's license plate, and threw it into the women's restroom. After all these misbehaviors by Zhao Lianrong, the entire factory isolated him. No one wanted to associate with such a wicked person. Returning to the results of the scene examination, although shoe prints made identification of the killer difficult, clues could be sought based on the shape and length of the toes. The footprints of this criminal are quite distinctive, with longer than normal big toes. Not everyone has such unusual toes. The police then requested Zhao Lianrong to provide footprints for investigation. He immediately showed uncooperative behavior, intentionally lifting his foot when imprinting. With these suspicious behaviors, the police had sufficient grounds to consider Zhao Lianrong a suspect. He was taken to the police department for a blood test. From that moment, he became withdrawn and didn't say anything when asked by anyone. The test results showed that the unusual blood samples at the scene were indeed those of Zhao Lianrong. He bowed his head and confessed to killing all 8 girls in apartment 202. The process of the crime matched every detail of the investigators' initial assessment. It all began in early summer of 1998, when 8 young girls moved to rent a 3-bedroom apartment next to Zhao Lianrong's family room. Every day, he saw the girls coming and going and was captivated by their beauty. Out of curiosity, he investigated their backgrounds and discovered that the girls were from Fujian, working as shopping guides at a major shopping center in Beijing. Zhao Lianrong observed the girls' balconies from the window of his southeast-facing room and realized that although the balconies were always closed, the windows were often open, even overnight. Recognizing the vulnerability of the girls' apartments, Zhao Lianrong concluded that this was his opportunity to commit the crime. Early on the morning of May 30th, 1999, Zhao Lianrong decided to break into the apartment with the initial intention of theft. He wore gloves, carried a sharp knife, removed his shoes, and gently jumped over the balcony to sneak into the room. Upon entering the apartment, he stabbed 5 young girls who were asleep, including Li Maiki, 24 years old, Zhang Shuijin, 22 years old, Wang Mayu, 18 years old, Wu Shengdan, 20 years old, and Zhu Huijua, 20 years old. After murdering the 5 individuals, he continued into the northern room of the apartment, where Xiao Maifang, 22 years old, was sleeping. Caught by surprise, Xiao Maifang attempted to run downstairs to call for help, but Zhao Lianrong quickly chased her, stabbed her to death, and dragged her body into a nearby truck. Afterwards, he returned to the apartment where he found another girl, Chen Ruihua, 22 years old, attempting to call the police. Without hesitation, he immediately attacked and killed the unfortunate girl. While continuing to search the apartment, he found Zhu Zhuang, 24 years old, hiding in a corner of the room, trembling with fear. He coldly approached and stabbed her until she died. After this horrific massacre, a total of 8 girls were stabbed by him more than 120 times. In a frenzy, he accidentally injured himself without realizing it, leaving his own blood at the scene. Initially, Zhao Lianrong only intended to steal, but the situation spiraled out of control when he stayed at the scene too long, and the girls began to call for help, causing him to fear being discovered. After returning home, he removed his blood-stained gloves and flushed them down the drain, while he threw the murder knife into a nearby river. However, he never expected that his own wife, Li Lin, was the one who called the police that very morning. In his panic, Zhao Lianrong went to the factory the next day, without realizing he was still wearing the blood-stained pair of socks. When the police conducted the examination, they found that the blood on the socks belonged to the 8 victims in apartment number 202. On June 15, 1999, Zhao Lianrong was officially arrested for the murder of 8 neighboring girls. After Zhao Lianrong's crimes were officially confirmed, Beijing police officers began to truly understand the deep-seated motives behind his criminal behavior. It was also at this time that Zhao Lianrong revealed long-standing internal conflicts related to the innocent girls he had targeted. Coming from a humble background, Zhao Lianrong not only felt envy, but was also attracted by the jewelry and handicrafts of the young, beautiful girls. At nearly 40 years old, Zhao still led a monotonous life, with only a basic education and nothing remarkable. When 7 young women moved into the residential complex where his family lived, Zhao began to dream of a different life. Zhao Lianrong started to pay attention to the women, monitoring their every gesture and behavior. He quietly investigated their daily habits, from their work schedules and return home times to details about their jobs and salaries. At this stage, he had no intention of murdering the young women in the neighboring room. Everything changed when the 8th woman appeared. This woman was sent by the main company headquarters to guide and support product management work, an important part of the store's sales plan for the remaining 7 women. In those days, the women began bringing some expensive jewelry and handicrafts back to the residential complex. They did not realize that these very items had awakened the evil nature within Zhao Lianrong. At that time, Zhao silently observed those luxurious items, the expensive bags and jewelry being taken out of the house. That image caused him to fall into a state of stupor. His true nature was also clearly revealed at this point. Tempted, Zhao fell into the dark spiral of crime. Unable to control himself, he killed the women without thinking or considering the consequences. When the police began their investigation, they quickly noticed the oddities of the crime scene. The residential complex is a closed building with limited space, meaning that the perpetrator could not easily escape from everyone's view. The police concluded that an outsider could not have broken into the residential complex at the time of the murder, and the culprit was very likely someone living or working within the area. Additionally, the amount of jewelry stolen in the case had only been brought back by the women in the past few days. Almost no one outside knew about the existence of these items, except for those living near the women or those who happened to see them. This is the reason why the police narrowed down the scope of the investigation and quickly apprehended the cruel murderer. On July 2, 1999, Beijing Intermediate People's Court No. 39 held a public trial to prosecute the shocking case of Zhao Lianrong. According to the investigation results and testimonies at the court, Zhao Lianrong deliberately took the lives of 8 innocent people through cruel and cold-blooded actions. The court determined that Zhao Lianrong's actions not only constituted the crime of intentional homicide, but also demonstrated contempt for the law and the use of cruel methods to carry out the act. The circumstances of the case were particularly severe, causing immeasurable horror and loss to the victims' families and the community. Zhao Lianrong's actions not only caused pain to the victims' families, but also incited extreme public outrage, demanding appropriate punishment. The court affirmed that this was an extremely serious and unforgivable crime, causing significant harm to social order and security. Therefore, on the same day, the court issued the first instance verdict, sentencing Zhao Lianrong to death. Realizing his own brutality and unforgivable crimes, Zhao Lianrong decided not to appeal. On the morning of July 21, 1999, Zhao was escorted to the courtroom to carry out the execution. The gunshot rang out, ending the life of the murderer and bringing peace to the souls of the 8 innocent girls who had their lives taken in this horrific massacre. It is said that the shadow of horrifying crimes not only engulfs the perpetrator, but also those closest to them. Ted Bundy, the infamous serial killer who instilled terror across America by taking the lives of over 30 women, was executed long ago.
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy. Smile, Ted.
But his story doesn't end there, as numerous mysteries remain unsolved. Chief among them is the question, where is the killer's only daughter, Rose Bundy, now? Many say she has changed her name and disappeared from the media's curiosity to seek a peaceful life. But is that really the truth? Right now, join us as we unveil the secrets surrounding Ted Bundy's only daughter, an enigmatic figure who has intrigued the world. Before we begin the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified whenever there's a new video. Ted Bundy is one of the most infamous and haunting serial killers in American history. He admitted to taking the lives of at least 30 women in just 4 short years, from 1,974 to 1,978. However, the actual number is believed to be much higher, possibly reaching into the hundreds, as many victims remain unaccounted for on official lists. In fact, the concept of a serial killer didn't even exist until Ted Bundy's name appeared and instilled fear. With his handsome, Hollywood star-like appearance, exceptional intelligence, and impressive educational background, Ted Bundy easily gained the trust of women. But behind that charming smile was a ruthless, malevolent demon, so cruel that even he admitted to being the coldest-blooded killer in the world. The punishment for him was a death sentence carried out by electric chair in 1989, when Ted Bundy was just 42 years old. However, the title of serial killer wasn't the only label attached to Ted Bundy. He was also known as a perfect father. Ted had 2 completely opposite sides to his personality, one as a cold-blooded murderer, and the other as a family man. In his lifetime, Ted Bundy had only one daughter with his wife Carol Ann Boone. Over the years, much information about Ted Bundy's life has been revealed, from his troubled childhood to his romantic relationships. But information about Ted Bundy's biological daughter remains a mystery. While many women in Bundy's life have been unafraid to appear in the media for interviews, there is only one significant person in his life who has never surfaced. That is none other than Ted Bundy's real-life biological daughter, Rose Bundy, also known as Rosa. First, let's talk about the romantic relationship between the serial killer and his official wife, Carol Ann Boone. Ted learned how to be a decent father while helping his girlfriend Elizabeth Klopfer take care of her daughter, Molly. Perhaps his greatest regret was not being able to raise and watch his only daughter grow up and mature. Even evil has its own charm, and Ted Bundy is a vivid example of this, with an irresistible allure gifted to him by nature. Not only blessed with good looks, Bundy also had the ability to manipulate and persuade those around him, especially women. Countless young women, captivated by his dashing appearance and confident demeanor, would often gather outside the courtroom where Bundy faced justice. His personal life, especially his romantic relationships, became a topic that fascinated the media. Among the women who had deep ties to Bundy, Carol Ann Boone stood out as she was his official wife. Before meeting Boone, Bundy had a passionate relationship with Elizabeth Klopfer, also known as Liz Kendall, along with her daughter, Molly. The documentary Falling for a Killer delved into the complex relationships Bundy had with these 2 women, one being his ex-lover and the other his official wife. A common trait between the 2 women who loved Ted Bundy was that they were both single mothers, which might have been what attracted the serial killer. While Elizabeth was raising her young daughter, Boone had a son named James from a previous marriage. Notably, when Bundy faced trial in Florida, James was already grown. He even appeared in documentary footage to defend his mother from media scrutiny. Carol Ann Boone first met Ted Bundy in 1974 when they both worked at the Washington State Emergency Services Center in Seattle. Ironically, at that time, Bundy was involved in assisting searches for women he himself had murdered. Boone, meanwhile, was going through a tough period in her life. She had just divorced for the 2nd time and was raising her son James alone. On top of that, she was stuck in an unhappy relationship with a large, gruff man. Thus, the arrival of Ted, a charming, educated, and calm man, quickly became a bright spot in Boone's dark life. In a book recounting the true story of Ted Bundy, Boone admitted that she was drawn to Bundy from their very first meeting. "I saw him as a seemingly shy man, but one who possessed a deep, fascinating inner world beyond what he showed on the surface. Ted seemed very serious, even more restrained than many others in the office. He could also join in light-hearted humor," Boone admitted. These impressions quickly allowed their relationship to develop, and soon, they became lovers. Even when Bundy was arrested and faced trial in Florida for the murder of 2 Florida State University female students, Boone still believed he was innocent. Her love for him did not fade. Instead, it grew even stronger when faced with challenges and difficulties. Carole Ann Boone stood by Ted Bundy in every trial, not only because of her unwavering belief in his innocence, but also because of the fond memories of his tenderness and care during their courtship. Despite rumors and opposition from many sides, Boone did not hesitate to give up her stable life in Washington to move to the Sunshine State, just so she could visit Ted frequently in prison. The relationship between Ted and Boone deepened, rivaling the affection he had previously shared with Elizabeth Klopfer. In 1907, 979, Boone appeared in court as a witness, declaring that Ted was a kind and well-mannered man. This was also the time when Ted planned to propose to her, as Florida state law allowed a couple to declare their marriage in court if a judge was present. As a clever former law student, Ted fully took advantage of this, not only to gain favor with the jury, but also to formalize his relationship with Boone. When proposing to his girlfriend in court, he asserted that it was not a scheme or a ploy, but a demonstration of true love. "We're not doing this for you. This is the only chance we have to be in the same room and say the most important words. This is for me and her," Ted boldly stated. Because of Ted's words, Boone completely trusted and supported him, even as the evidence against him continued to mount. On February 14, 1981, Valentine's Day, Ted Bundy officially married Boone in a public trial.
Carol, do you want to marry me?
Yes.
And I want to marry you.
Yes.
And I do want to marry you.
It was an unusual event, documented by renowned crime writer Ann Rule, who had once been an old friend of Ted. In her book, The Stranger Beside Me, Ann Rule recounted the unique love story between Bundy and Boone. At the same time, the book revealed a secret about the charming serial killer. While maintaining his relationship with Boone, Ted still kept in touch with his ex-girlfriend Elizabeth, even managing both relationships while in prison. However, Elizabeth ultimately decided to leave him, while Boone continued to love him deeply. Notably, this trial not only marked a turning point in Ted Bundy's personal life, but also ended with his death sentence. Nonetheless, Boone remained steadfast in her belief that her husband was innocent and continued to support him, frequently visiting him in prison. The bizarre wedding in the Florida courtroom was not only a highlight in Ted Bundy's life story, but also became one of the most memorable events in American trial history. Boone became pregnant with Ted Bundy's child while he was serving his prison sentence. What's remarkable is that Boone became pregnant while Ted was on death row, a place where conjugal visits of any kind were strictly prohibited. When news of Boone's pregnancy spread, a flurry of rumors and questions arose, accompanied by widespread skepticism. Furthermore, some even questioned whether Boone's pregnancy was truly Ted Bundy's child. In a 1981 interview with the Deseret News, Boone admitted that no one really cared that she was pregnant with Ted's child. What they cared about was how it happened. The Sun even proposed a bizarre theory that Boone might have smuggled an empty condom to Bundy through a kiss. Bundy would then fill it with his sperm and return it to her to enable conception. Although this theory caused a stir, Bundy's close friend Ann Rule dismissed it outright. According to her, Bundy and Boone didn't need to resort to such desperate measures. Instead, the two likely bribed prison guards to be allowed private time together in secluded corners of the prison. Such arrangements were not uncommon among prisoners in America, and it's highly likely that Bundy and Boone used this method to maintain their marital relationship under dire circumstances. This explanation seems plausible, as Boone herself shared details of their encounters in the documentary Conversations with a Killer: The Ted Bundy Tapes. She admitted that after their first time, the prison guards stopped caring about what she and her husband did. In fact, those guards even caught the couple being intimate in a corner of the room multiple times, but turned a blind eye. On October 24, 1982, Boone gave birth to a daughter named Rose Bundy, Ted's only biological child. Despite public condemnation of Ted as a murderer, Boone steadfastly believed in her husband's innocence. Boone's blind trust in Ted did not waver, even after she gave birth to their daughter. In fact, before Ted was captured, Boone was reportedly involved in helping him escape from a Colorado prison in 1977, prior to his flight to Florida. At the time, there were indeed many who believed Ted was innocent and was suffering a grave injustice. They argued that there was no strong evidence against him in any of the cases, making doubts about his crimes even more uncertain. In that context, Carol Ann Boone found herself surrounded by people who shared her belief that Ted Bundy was innocent. And as everyone knows, when you're in love, it's easy to accept things that reinforce your beliefs, no matter how harsh reality might be. Boone remained loyal to Ted, even frequently bringing their young daughter Rose to visit him in prison. This was her way of proving her faith and love in his innocence. She steadfastly maintained that Ted Bundy was wrongfully accused and had no involvement in any of the crimes. However, by 1986, as Bundy's execution date approached, prosecutors offered him the chance to reveal the locations of the missing victims' bodies in exchange for a delay in his execution. Ted confessed to his crimes, and that was the moment Boone's entire world of trust crumbled. The man she loved and believed in turned out to be one of the most brutal serial killers in history. Boone felt deeply betrayed, as if the trust she had given Bundy had been mercilessly shattered. She fell into despair upon hearing her husband's cruel confessions. Boone's friends admitted it was a devastating shock for her. When Bundy requested to see his daughter Rose, Boone firmly refused. Ted never got to say goodbye to his daughter before his execution. It is unclear when Boone's love for Ted Bundy died, but perhaps in the moment he confessed to all his crimes, her trust was completely extinguished. That same year, 1986, she decided to divorce the serial killer and cut all ties with him. After everything, Boone took her daughter Rose and son James to the Seattle area to start a new life and escape public scrutiny. Additionally, there were rumors that in his final months, Ted had begun a romantic relationship with Diana Weiner, one of the attorneys involved in his defense. According to People magazine, Carol Ann Boone did not visit Ted Bundy during the last 2 years of his life before his execution in 1908. On the day Bundy faced death, he attempted to contact Boone by phone, but she did not answer his call. That seemed to mark the end of any connection between the two, a relationship that had once sparked public controversy and attention. Many believe that Ted wanted to see Boone and his only daughter before his execution, but his wish never came true. At the time, 6-year-old Rose did not get to see her father one last time, not a single meeting, not a final goodbye. This remained a source of regret and sorrow for the cold-blooded killer until the end of his life, as he never got to meet his daughter. Carol Ann Boone's life, after divorcing Bundy, remains a great mystery to this day. She and her daughter Rose stayed out of the public eye and seemingly changed their names to avoid attention. Rose Bundy is believed to have been renamed Rosa Johnson, and her life has never been revealed to the media. Writer Anne Rule once stated that she had met Rosa and affirmed that she grew up to be an intelligent, kind, and independent person. Although some old family photos of Rose, Bundy, and her mother were shown in the documentary Falling for a Killer, Rosa's face was always blurred to preserve her privacy. This remains the only photograph of Rose Bundy that exists publicly. In the photo, she smiles brightly while in the arms of her parents. Ted has his arm around his wife and wears a happy smile while posing with his young daughter. The meeting took place in prison, but did not seem to diminish their sense of contentment, especially for Boone. Boone's and Rosa Johnson's silence is understandable, as the mother and daughter sought to stay as far away from media attention as possible. There is very little information about their lives or current whereabouts, which only adds to the mystery surrounding them. People can only speculate on how Rosa grew up and overcame the challenges of being the child of a notorious serial killer. Ann Rule admitted that she deliberately avoided revealing any details about Bundy's ex-wife and daughter because they deserved to live in privacy. "All I know is that Ted's daughter grew up to be a kind and intelligent young woman," Ann Rule said in her book. This revelation by the author only fueled curiosity about what Rose Bundy's adult life might be like. Based on the childhood photo of her with her parents, many believe that she must have grown into a very beautiful woman. Boone's decision to avoid appearing in the media or any documentaries discussing her life and that of her children after Ted's story ended is considered a wise choice. Carole Ann Boone passed away in 2018 in Washington State at the age of 70. Before her death, she never made a single media appearance. News of Boone's death was only disclosed by those close to her. Rosa is now 42 years old, but has never publicly appeared or spoken about her experiences or feelings growing up. The question, "Where is Rose Bundy now?" continues to captivate public curiosity. Forums like Life on Death Row are filled with theories and speculations about the life of the serial killer's daughter. Some believe that Carole Ann Boone changed her name to Abigail Griffin and moved to Oklahoma, where she remarried and built a peaceful, happy life. After her tumultuous relationship with Ted Bundy, Boone seemed to do everything she could to ensure that her daughter's life was not affected by her murderous father. She relocated, changed names, and cut ties with the dark past. The fragmented details about Ted Bundy's wife and daughter only add more drama to the story of one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. Although no one knows exactly where Rose Bundy is now, her mystery in the media further enhances the legend of Ted Bundy. Today's story has been thoroughly researched and sourced from various documentaries, books, and reputable publications to provide the most comprehensive and accurate perspective on the case.